Donald Trump was not at the recent first presidential debate of the 2024 election season. Why is that the case? Well, I'm going to touch briefly on that, but then we're going to really get into not an analysis so much of the debate, but an analysis of the issues that came up and how we should think about those. I'm also going to give you some issues that were missing. Welcome to Cutting Edge Faith. I'm Ryan Howard. This podcast is here to bring you the truth behind the headlines and to equip your faith so that you can navigate the cultural chaos of today. I really want to focus more on the issues and the topics because we need to know how to think about those as Christ followers, biblically informed people who want to advance the kingdom. So we want to understand the times and we want to know what we should do. And so first, I want to start out with the big thing, which is the fact that Trump was not there. So let's look at his own words just to see why that was the case.
Mr. President, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Why aren't you at the Fox News debate tonight in Milwaukee?
Well, a lot of people have been asking me that, and many people said you shouldn't do them, but you see the polls have come out, and I'm leading by 50 and 60 points. And, some of them are at 1 and 0 and 2. And I'm saying, do I sit there for an hour or 2 hours, whatever it's going to be, and get harassed by people that shouldn't even be running for president? Should I be doing that? And a network that isn't particularly friendly to me, frankly. They were backing Ron DeSanctimonious like crazy, and now they've given up on him. I mean, it's a lost cause. It reminded me very much of 2016. In 2016, I went through the same stuff and had to fight them all the way, and then they became very friendly after I won, or just about when I was winning. But I just felt it would be more appropriate not to do the debate. I don't think it's right to do it. If you're leading by 50, 60, I have one poll, I'm leading by 70 points, and I'm saying, why am I doing it? And I'm going to have 8 people, 10 people, whoever made the debate, I don't know how many it is, but I'm going to have all these people screaming at me, shouting questions at me, all of which I love answering, I love doing, but it doesn't make sense to do them. So I've taken a pass, as you probably noticed.
So, yes, we did notice, and it's quite interesting. I mean, I've seen even from Babylon Bee some memes that were talking about basically this was a debate to see who was going to win a distant second place to Donald Trump. I mean, he is so far ahead. It is just incredible. And just a brief comment. I mean, this debate was a very establishment-oriented debate. These people kind of demonstrated, most of them demonstrated how out of touch they are with the current topics and where the population, where we are as a nation. And a lot of them sticking with the establishment talking points, and that's just not going to fly. It's not going to work, and it falls on deaf ears, and it makes them just seem out of touch with really what's going on. Now, I want to mention a few things, topics. So we have education, Ukraine funding, abortion, the threat of China, the Russia-China alliance, UFOs and aliens, the border emergency, whether or not to pardon Trump, and Trump's indictments, is climate change man-made, and did Pence make the right decision on January 6th? And then I'm going to touch briefly on each of these, and then we're going to get into the missing topics that really need to be a part of the conversation in this election season. So let's get right into it. Education. Now, I love education. It's very important to me. I could spend all day learning. I would enjoy spending all day in a lecture hall just learning and then talking about those things that I've learned. And I would enjoy that. I've spent 10 years reviewing grant applications for early childhood for early childhood education in Iowa, in the Cedar Valley where I live, and helping kids overcome barriers and helping kids thrive and be ready in school. So I've seen all the research there. I'm currently on the Early Childhood Iowa State Board of Directors appointed by Governor Reynolds. So I've seen all the research. My wife and I have an in-home daycare, and we're building that out to have a curriculum-focused academy style, and what God is doing there. And what do we need in education? Well, in Iowa, we have seen education skyrocket, the costs, and we don't have more teachers. We have the same population in Iowa for the last 40 years. Why would the costs go up? Well, we have more administrators. That's right. Buildings, administrators, and this is indicative of the issues. And we see huge problems with rates of competency. Kids are not reading at grade level. They're not having math at grade level. It's like 30% proficiency. I mean, it's insane how poor they're doing. And so there's a mass exodus happening I think there's a 30% rise or more of homeschooling and alternative options. And so one critical thing is that we need children reading at grade level by third grade. Reading, and they'll not struggle the rest of their academic career. And if they are not at grade level, it will be tough for them, and they'll have to overcome that. And I've personally mentored 2 10-year-old boys, and I've seen that, how I saw them one of them turn a corner when they got their reading where it needed to be. And then we were just focused on other things instead of schoolwork. So we need school choice. We need competition. Anybody who says that, well, if we have another school here or if we have school choice, it's going to hurt this school, well, that's ridiculous. I mean, what other industry can you name where you don't want competition? A little competition, a lot of competition is good, is healthy, and we need that for the schools. We need to be talking about the fact that technology is used so much in education today. You know, when we went to school, there was computers in typing class, computers in perhaps English lab, and then computers in like a programming class. You don't need a computer. You don't need your textbooks on computers. In fact, research shows that this hurts learning. This does not help kids learn more. And they've got Chromebooks for everything, and all their textbooks are digital now. And that's insane. There's actually learning that happens when thumbing through, struggling, looking for things, finding, the tactical, touching the paper, those sorts of things, and not interacting with technology all day. You see all these kids wearing glasses. It's because they're nearsighted all day long, looking right here, not going outside and playing, not doing other things, focusing elsewhere. It's too much screen time, and it's too much time looking at something close up and not going out and playing. Same thing for me at my work. I'm a knowledge worker. I work at a computer all day long. So I got to take a break and go outside or go look somewhere else further off so to keep your eyes healthy. But what we're doing is putting children in a position where this thing that's not helpful for them, this technology, I mean, to a degree, we need that. Okay, of course. But all of their learning needs to take place with that, and they got to take it home? Like, that's absurd. We need to go back to hard copy textbooks, and we can cut some costs in some administration there. How about that? Get some rid of some unnecessary administrators. Homeschooling is rising. We have Christian values need to be returned back to the school. We need to bring the Bible back and prayer back. 1962 and 1963, those were taken out. I don't remember which one was first, but it's 62, 63. Those both were taken out. And every measure of society, whether it's violent crime, whether it's incarceration, whether it's marriage rates, everything was going in a positive direction. And the year that those two were taken out, 62 and 63, you can see an immediate decline in every measure of a healthy society. Immediate decline. Correlation or causation? I think we know the answer. Now, we need to get rid of CRT. That needs to be out. And we need to start, that's critical race theory, and that's the idea of oppressor and oppressed, where there's a certain class of people, a certain group of people based on a group identity, like white people, say, are the oppressor, and the oppressed are black people or indigenous or natives or whatever it is. And this is it's absolutely absurd theory, and it needs to go. It needs to go. And we need to teach critical thinking. So put up a debate topic and have kids mull it over. Which color's better, red or yellow? And then have them debate it and have to come up with, is a triangle better or a square better? There's not an answer for that, but those are silly examples, but you get them debating and you get them thinking about these topics, and there's different ways to do that. Bring up light topics or heavy topics as well. So we need to make critical thinking great again. Okay, that's education. Next was Ukraine funding. Now, I'm quite disappointed with how establishment this group is. There is so much misunderstanding and misinformation about Ukraine. They think everybody wants to see it as a black and white, good guy, bad guy. This is like a comic book version of what's really happening over there. It is far from the truth. Now, I'm not defending Putin. I'm not defending Russia. What they've done is wrong. But to pretend like they weren't provoked by NATO basically breaking their agreement after back, was it the 80s or whatever, that they said they would not advance, or 90s, they would not advance further eastward. Well, now they're talking about inviting Ukraine, and that's what has provoked this. It's like, would we want China or Russia to have missiles and military bases in Canada or Mexico? Of course not. What do we have? The Cuban Missile Crisis, right? We wouldn't accept that. And so they broke the violation. So they've provoked, NATO has provoked Russia. And so, of course, this is what's happened. Now, I'm not saying Russia's response was a great response. Now, they've sort of veered off the path, but we need to stop pretending like this is some black and white thing. Trump has been clear, needs to end it. He says he can end it in 24 hours, and people kind of laugh at that and scoff at that. Of course that can happen. When you know your leverage and you know your position and you know what the other team wants, well, then you do something like that, like Trump says. We've sent hundreds of millions of dollars to Ukraine, and what did the Biden administration send to Hawaii? $700 per family. I mean, and they had it took him 10 days to even say something or more about Hawaii. Like, it's absurd. We have a national security threat at our border, which we'll get into in just a second. But with this Ukraine funding, we have a Russia-China alliance, and the threat of China was not talked about enough. I mean, it's crazy that that's not the case, and we have a lot of people who are bought and paid for by China, and many China, they are very compromised, and we know that Mitch McConnell, the Pelosi's, all these Biden family, everybody, all of these leaders are compromised. There is a Russia-China alliance that we need to deal with in this war so that we're not pushing China toward Russia and Russia towards China so that they can be partnering against the U.S. And now we see these ships and everything coming off the coast of Alaska and in the South China Sea and all this thing. So, yeah, we need to be paying attention to this. Abortion, another topic. It's very disappointing that they're all talking about 15-week ban, 12-week ban, 6-week ban. We need to abolish abortion. We want to yes, okay, we can say it's a state's issue, but was slavery a state's issue? We made an amendment to abolish slavery. So we need an amendment, a federal U.S. government amendment to abolish abortion. That's what we need, and every president candidate needs to commit to that, including Trump. And we need to demand that. This is the human rights issue of our day, one of them, along with trafficking, but we need to demand that. So yes, we need an amendment to abolish abortion. And it does not matter. This came up, and they have excuses about, well, we can't get the votes. We need 70 votes to do this, and the Senate's not going to support this global or national ban and all these things. That's ridiculous. That's not a good reason to not propose something. You need to actually ask for it. You need to push it and let them say no. Don't say no because you think they're going to say no, because then that's on you. That's what I'm saying. And so UFOs and aliens. So there was one question about this. They didn't really go into it too much, but I'll just say real quickly, and I'm going to do an episode on this coming up. We're working on it now. No, there's no aliens. There's no people from another or things from another planet. Don't think extraterrestrial. Think interdimensional. Okay, the biblical account, and worldview explains this. There's nothing new under the sun. This is Genesis 6. It's the Nephilim. The fallen angels came and were with the women and the giants of the day. And this may be new to you, but I'm going to have a very academic, biblical, and all these approaches to this where we're going to go deeper into this soon. So get ready for that. Next was border emergency, whether it's send troops to the border, whether it's get the border wall finished, whatever it is, we need to deal with that because trafficking is a big deal. It's a big issue, and that's what's happening. And I'm going to get back to that in a second. Spoiler alert, that's one of the topics that I say should have been covered that wasn't covered. We need to address that border issue. We've got drugs flooding in. We've got people flooding in. We've got trafficking happening. It's just insane the level of craziness that is happening at the border and because of the border. And we have elites who say we need to have a strong border in Ukraine. Ukraine needs a border. They're being violated and all this. And here we are just having people pour in through our border, not protecting it. It's just a schizophrenic approach to policy. The next one, would they pardon Trump and the Trump indictments? And none of these people should be running for office. Trump's the clear candidate. He's the right guy. He's the one needed. He's the only one that's going to be able to destroy the deep state and continue what he started in 2016. And I will just say in summary that anyone who mentions Trump's indictments without referencing a two-tiered justice system, a corrupt justice system, needs to go away. They need to stop whatever they're doing and go and get real. Climate change, is it man-made? I was impressed that they asked about this. They directly asked everybody about climate change, whether it's man-made, and clearly it's not. No, we'll do another episode on that soon, but human behavior is not what's affecting climate change. We see the history and we see this up and down and up and down. There's plenty of evidence, scientific evidence to support that. It's not a consensus. Anyway, science is not a consensus discipline, but We don't have a consensus on the law of gravity. It's just a law because it was demonstrated and nobody's able to prove it otherwise. And so that's what we do with science is we prove and disprove. We disprove theories. That's what we do. One of the things I've noted is that Hawaii prioritized preserving water over preserving homes and lives. And there's another video that we could show on that. It's something that we need to get real about. And we're doing all of these electric vehicles, ideas and things that we think is going to help change the climate situation. But one, it's not going to change. It's not going to have any effect. And two, there's not enough rare earth minerals to make the amount of batteries required to do that. To have an industry with all electric vehicles. There's lots of models that show how it wouldn't work, and it's not even close to working. And then another one was that did Pence make the right decision on January 6th? And nobody really said that he didn't, and a few people waffled but danced around it a little bit. But the answer to that is no. Pence committed treason, along with 2/3 of Congress. I did an episode on this. They violated their oath of office because there were credible questions about the integrity of the election, and they did not investigate them. They did not investigate them. Now, it doesn't mean it would have been overturned. Of course, we know it would have been, but they just went forward ahead. So they basically certified a fraudulent election. They knew that there were issues, credible issues that were brought forth. And so the fact that 2/3 of Congress and Pence certified this election means that they committed treason. Make sure you check out that episode. There was a Supreme Court case that came up and ended up not being heard, but you can learn more about it there. Before I get into what was missing, the U.S. Constitution is the guarantor of freedoms. However, if we continue to violate it, it's not going to guarantee anything. And freedoms and rights come from God. And that's why they're called inalienable rights. They come from God. The government does not grant those rights. The government is to protect those rights. And so what we need to do is abide by the Constitution. That's why we don't need a constitutional convention, because the Constitution is not the problem. They're not following the Constitution. So how would changing the Constitution help that situation at all? It wouldn't. It would just cause more issues. So what's missing? Trafficking. I mentioned that already. Over 100,000 children every day are trafficked in America. 100,000 children. In Iowa, thousands every day. And there are 52 children go missing in the state of Iowa every day. Now, it's similar across the U.S. I just cannot believe that this was not talked about. If you haven't seen The Sound of Freedom, you got to see that. Sounds like Mel Gibson has some more stuff coming out as well. But I did an episode on a couple of these things, but trafficking is another human rights issue of our time. We've got abortion and trafficking. Those are two big things. We have COVID mandates. Apparently Biden and a lot of people are talking about bringing some of these back. We need to, was that the right response? So there should have been some discussion on that. How about vaccine damage? There's lots of data coming out now that the COVID vaccine has done a lot of damage and didn't quite meet the promises that were brought forth at the time. And so also Trump's massive lead. As you heard in the video in the beginning, 30 or 40, 50, 60%, 70% in some polls. That's just incredible. And so we need to keep that going. And we need to be in touch with these issues and what's going on. We know we advance God's kingdom at whatever table we're sitting at by representing his interests. And so we need to be informed on that. I've got a book here called Politics According to the Bible, and it's an incredible resource. I'd recommend it. And understanding how to think about these topics. None of these are non-spiritual topics and unrelated topics. We need to be informed on all of these. Now, we don't need to be news junkies and just all that, but we need to understand the times so that we can know what to do. And that's what this podcast is here to do, is to help you understand what's really going on so that you can seek the Lord and know what to do. I want to invite you, go to ryanshoward.com and you can get my free download. You can get the link in the show notes, 21 Days to a Spirit-Led Life, and make sure you are close with the Lord in these times. Make sure you like and subscribe and comment below what you think about all these topics and what you think is missing and what we need to be talking about and who we need to lead our nation in 2024. If you're listening to the audio of this, you can find the link to the video in the show notes. Thanks for listening. God bless, and we'll see you in the next episode.